Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. We're going to start with Stuart Alderoty's tweet here. He says, Gary Gensler's latest Wall Street Journal commentary proves that the SEC's priority is to protect its turf at the expense of 40 plus million Americans in the crypto economy. I responded explaining how his agency's actions are actually leaving consumers holding the bag, which, I mean, I've been holding for since 2017, just like a lot of the XRP community members. In this lawsuit definitely stifled, our own family financial goals and everything that's happening in regards of our personal investments into XRP, especially being, way under, not even approaching our previous all-time high of like 365 or 380 or whatever it was, not even remotely getting close to it. So I can 100% agree with this. XRP Crypto Wolf says XRP would have easily surpassed its previous all-time high of 365 if the SEC never sued Ripple. 100% agree. James K. Fallon says, this from Gary Gensler says, quote, what we need is regulatory clarity for crypto, not the SEC swinging its billy club to protect its turf at the expense of the more than 40 million Americans in the crypto economy. XRP Crypto Wolf says Congress needs to give regulatory power for crypto to the CFTC instead of the SEC. Absolutely, especially when it comes to certain assets like, XRP, for instance, just a perfect example of, it's been around since 2012, if I'm not mistaken, has its, staying power, proved its, its decentralization, its growth, its innovation, and its utility and use cases being proven day by day. So absolutely. Johnny Deaton has this tweet thread here. It says, SEC's modus operandi. Brad House said Ripple will ultimately spend 100 million. Let me zoom in. 100 million on legal fees. Library and Jeffrey Kaufman spent a third of all funds on legal fees. Dragon Chain spent 2 to 4 million in legal fees before the case was recently filed and now face a long, expensive legal battle. He continues. Initially, I was critical of BlockFi's extortion payment to Gary Gensler. I guess we know why BlockFi Zach agreed to pay 100 million in a pre-suit settlement. Ripple was investigated for 30 months before a lawsuit was filed and no fraud. Ripple offered to settle, but the SEC refused. Library was investigated for 3 years before a lawsuit was filed and no fraud. Library offered to settle, which included dissolving the corporation and selling the founder's assets at auction. Anything short of registering LBC as a security, but the SEC refused. After almost 4 years, and after being told the SEC investigation was over and because no fraud was found, the SEC was closing the case. At the 11th hour and before the statute of limitations ran, the SEC filed the case against Dragon Chain, claiming that all DGRNs are securities. And then he concludes here. He says, do you see the pattern? Investigate for years, causing a project millions in legal fees before suing them. Then sue them when they have limited resources, which increases the likelihood they tap out. With real fraud going on in traditional and crypto markets, this is the SEC. Absolutely. What about the Terra Lunas and the Do Kwans and all the other shady stuff that's been happening in the industry? Why aren't they, going after those projects and platforms? Why are they coming after, solid projects, for instance, Ripple XRP and Library that trying to do things the right way, coming in trying to have those conversations to see, how they can go forward, move forward in the proper way in regards of legally. And investor protection in mind, but they go after them. But they're not going after, the shady stuff that's been happening in the industry. That's the sickening part about it. Moving on here, Johnny Deaton has something else here. I'm going to play this clip real quick. This is from Jungle Eek. It says, want to talk about how Ripple and Ether are non-compliant? Ha 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 ha. So he's kind of just showing this little 7-second clip of our current chairman, Gary Gensler here.
Oh, sure. You want to get to where we disagree?
Yeah, but first,
do you want to talk about maybe about Ripple or Ether?
No. Let's let Patrick.
Oh, sure. You want to?
Like what? Super awkward there. Johnny Deaton says, I'm about to release a thread on how I don't believe ETH is as safe as some do. Gensler truly believes they are securities, and he doesn't believe once a security isn't it can transform. So we're just going to wait and kind of see what Johnny Deaton puts out in his tweet thread. I'm going to update the Twitter account here, the Cryptos Key 1 Twitter account. So make sure that you follow us and keep up to date, or go to Johnny Deaton, follow him, and keep up to date on this tweet thread. I'm interested to see what he says. Jungle E comes down here and says something. Here he goes. There's no reason to assume ETH is safe. ETH Foundation did an ICO, and Gary isn't one to forget about the past. Clearly, because he's literally going after a lot of the projects for the past. He goes, the blockchain needs substantial work to be truly functional, meaning ETH2 or consensus layer, whatever they're calling it. ETH lacks an ODL product that would allow sales of Ether in a utility purpose. Coming down here, Crypto Knight says, Crypto Knight says, wouldn't it be great the day after we win our case, SC takes ETH to court for a few years so we can catch up to ETH? I do. Johnny Dean says, I realize some XRP holders do and I understand why, but the SEC shouldn't be the regulator overseeing tokens that have traded for a decade. The CFTC should. Two wrongs don't make things right. And I 100% agree. And Jungle Inc. hit it on the head and I responded to him down here. He goes, clarity and fair rules for all. And I 100% agree. And I would like to say a good majority of the XRP community feels this way. It's like, yeah, we're frustrated and we're hurt by, a lot of players in the industry not stepping up, and fighting the good fight with Ripple and XRP holders. And, they're still scrutinizing us and talking about all these negativities and kind of feeling indifferent about the Ripple versus SC case. But at the end of the day, yes, we're frustrated. Our families have been affected. Many lives have been affected with this lawsuit. But it's like we just genuinely want regulatory clarity and fairness in a level playing field for the entire industry, so this entire industry can flourish. We know what we hold when it comes to XRP, so it's like we don't necessarily have to be super bitter and negative in regards of all the other projects out there. It's like, no, let's get fair rules for everybody so this space can just flourish and do what it set out to do and solve the issues out there in the world, solving real world problems and fighting the good fight out there, making a difference in innovative ways. Crypto Law US's Johnny Deaton's thing here goes, looks like Gary Gensler realizes hiding behind cringy Twitter videos isn't working and needs to defend himself against the escalating opposition to his leadership of the SC Gov. So he's responding to Eleanor Terrett's scoop tweet here. It says, my sources tell me Gary Gensler will be testifying in front of Senate Banking on September 15th. CFTC Benham will testify in front of the Senate Ag Dems the day before. Will be interesting to see whether Gary Gensler is asked to respond to Benham's answer on crypto. So it's going to be a waiting game to see kind of what happens there. Blockchain Backer put up some interesting. I think there was some confusion going on with this whole voting system of the XLS 20 in regards of NFTs being on the XRPL. People were saying, if the vote sits at 80% and it holds for, 2 weeks, that NFTs will be available on XRPL, but there was a correction. Matt Hamilton came out and says, I was wrong. It's greater than 80%. So there needs to be another vote I guess they had changed the amendment earlier a year ago. So they need one more vote and the countdown will start there. So once it gets over 80%, greater than 80%, and it holds for 2 weeks, NFTs will be available on the XRPL, which is absolutely massive. Just more utility and use case. That's absolutely huge. Eleanor Terre's responding to Doug Crypto. It says, Dr. Roslin wrote a great piece on the Gary Gensler overreach title, Gary Gensler Resigned. So we were talking about this article that Roslyn Layton put in the Forbes, and there was a lot of, it went viral, and there was a lot of, speculation and conversation that's been happening on Twitter, and it went down, and people were saying, I forgot what word they used, but pretty much, suppression of speech, and they're trying to, hide the truth, yada, yada, yada. Eleanor Terre says, I spoke to Roslyn Layton about this today. She told me Forbes did not pull the article. Rather, she and her editor made the decision to rewrite the piece themselves. So Moon Lambo goes, if that's what Roslyn says, then I'll take her at her word. Still, I have to wonder, what did she write that she was concerned might be taken as news rather than opinion? To me, it was 100% crystal clear the original piece was opinion. I mean, that's, me reading through it. I mean, that's how I felt. It almost as this is me just speculating, just based on, experience in life and being in this industry and just seeing the shady stuff happen. It's almost as if someone nudged her or pressured her or something, some more powerful entity or some partner or whatever the case is, seems like they're like, hey, maybe you might want to tighten that up or, change this, or that's probably not a good look. That's not going to work for us. And, maybe that's why they felt they needed to rewrite it or edit it. But it was shady how it all happened, because it was like something that was massive, huge for the community, the truth getting out there, even though it was like, so-called, her opinion on what's going on based on the evidence that it's presented, and it gets pulled. And it's just like, that was just super weird. I forgot what word they used, but it's like, pretty much, yeah, suppressing the right to free speech and all that stuff, or censorship. That's what they call it, censorship. And they were talking about this piece here. Gary Gensler resigned by Rosalind Layton. Moving on here, different stuff here. This is from Watcher News. It says FBI issues an alert on over 2.45 billion stolen in DeFi. So we talk a lot on the channel about protecting your assets. Okay, be careful about what website you're connecting your wallets to, what projects you're involved in. Don't send anybody your seed phrase keys or none of that stuff. Okay, protect yourself as best you can when it comes to your digital assets. Get a hardware wallet, get a mobile secure wallet. Don't leave it on exchanges if you don't have to. And, custody your own stuff, okay? Because literally, if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. And that's so true. A lot of people have been wrecked by that. Come over here, they have another one here. It says, Crypto.com's lawsuit against Fev Manoguri, Maniville, explaining a $10.5 million mistake. So I guess they were paying these sisters, they were owed them $10, right, or something, and $100 refund, but they sent them $10.5 million, and they went out and bought, some stuff, bought this house, and I guess they sued them after 7 months. They weren't aware of it, and they sued them, and now they have to sell all their stuff and pay that money back. So the overwhelming concept behind this is, if you're accidentally sent a crap ton of money that you didn't ask for, that you didn't earn, and that's not rightfully yours, you might want to do your due diligence and find out who the rightful owners are. I guess banking, it happens in the banking system as well. Mistakes happen or whatnot, but just do the right thing. If it's not yours, you didn't earn it, you're not expecting that. Obviously something's up. So protect yourself there. That's unfortunate. Hopefully they can pay all that back. We're going to end on this one here. It says, JP Morgan says you should sell your crypto. So this is the same JP Morgan that's, over the years, had these flood campaigns and Bitcoin's, negative and the crypto market's this and Bitcoin's going to zero and I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. I'm not saying that that's the words they use exactly, but that's just kind of the gist of things. But in the background, they're literally accumulating, telling you one thing, giving you the head fake, giving you the juke move and doing something else. So the whole overwhelming concept behind this article that I took from it is, okay, educate yourself, vet, the resources that you follow. When it comes to these major players, these major corporations and companies, hear what they say, right? Don't do as they say, do as they do. So educate yourself, formulate your own opinion based on, your own resources that you have available to invest. And realize that, hey, if they're saying one thing, maybe you may want to look further into the situation to see, okay, they may be saying this is bad, but is it really? What are they doing? So don't do as they say, do as they do. Do the opposite. And that's kind of the overwhelming concept I got. But I try to be as quick as possible with this one. That's all I have for you. Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at CryptoIsKey1. I really appreciate the support. Really excited to continue to grow this community. I love doing this content. It's super interesting hobby that I have, and I really enjoy it. I'm always in the crypto world in general, whether it's Twitter or going on YouTube or just looking at CoinGecko or investing myself. So I really love this world, and I love that I'm a part of it, and I love that I'm here with you guys. So continue to support it. I'm going to continue to bring you content. We're going to keep this ball rolling. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.